Hi everyone, Lukas from Gisbertphotography.com, and in this video, well, it's going to be a pretty in-depth video about my experience with the Fuji system. Now, I have been using now Fuji for a year, and that's been a full year using only Fuji. So I got rid of all my Nikon stuff and only went on to Fuji. And you may have seen that video where I talked about the switch between Nikon and Fuji. This is also going to be touching a little on that because I am going to come back a bit on this. So the point of this update is just to let you know what I think about the system, the Fuji system, after using it for a full year. Now, I've taken probably over 150,000 images. It's been professional. So I'm a wedding and portrait photographer. That's what I do. That's my full-time job. But I do a lot of personal work. And this is the system I've been using for everything. So I've done a lot of changes on the lens, which I will talk about. So I think I have enough experience with this system to give you a proper review if you are thinking of buying that system or switching to that system. So let's start. I've made a little list of points which I want to talk about. So let's talk about the aesthetic. Now, when I mean aesthetic, I mean the actual body and the handles of the camera, you know, how is it to hold it. So this body, because I have two, which one I'm filming on now. Well, this body is the first one I got, and I had a part of the grip which kind of got off, so I just cut it to make it easier because it kept being in the way. I start having at the front a little piece which is going off here. There is no much grip there anymore. The door, which is a known problem by Fuji, which I hope they will resolve in the next updates, is bent, so it doesn't close properly. So that could be an issue if you use it under bad weather conditions, because that obviously water gets in there. There's going to be a problem. Some people have said that they had problem with the SD card door. I never had a problem. I've always been careful with it. The flash, everything's pretty much worked well. Yeah, it's not too bad after such a long use. You know, I remember my Nikon D700, even D800, where the grip was going off. So you know, Fuji has this kind of problem after long use. Nikon as well, and I'm sure Canon as well. You know, other brand. So they're not immortal, right? Now, the handling of the camera is pretty good. I've never had a problem. Now, but for professional use, I do use the grip. I find that I have a better handle. I sometimes use that shutter button, but most of the time, just by reflex, I just keep using this one because most of the time I will shoot in landscape, and if I shoot in portrait, instead of changing my hand, but that's just personal choice. It's true that it's a very, very small camera. I don't have very big hands, so that's all right for me. And for personal use, it's great because I just put a small lens and off I go. So the handling is good. I think that Fuji has made a very big improvement on their updates, which is being able to change the speed by putting onto the T position, because before you had to move the wheel from one speed to another and use that little wheel at the front here to be able to adjust between the speeds there. So that was all right, but it can be time consuming. Now, if you put it on T, you can just do the whole range from 30 seconds up to 48 thousandths of a second anymore. Now, or something crazy speed they have because they have electronic shutter, which I will talk about later. So that is very, very handy. So it's really quick to change. The ISO, well, I mean, you just get used to it. You know, if you come from a DSLR and you go on to medium format, if you go to even a point of shoot or an iPhone, you just have to get used to the new thing. Within a month, you know, everything comes naturally. So that's not an issue. Weight and size has been a big plus for me. I've got to say, I'm able to take, really just a very little kit to do all my project kit, my portrait work. As for weddings, I still take quite a lot because I have a lot of lighting gear and that's what takes so much space. But I'm able to take all my bodies, all my lenses into one bag, and that it's such a big help for me. So that's pretty much when it comes to the aesthetic of it. Now let's talk about the updates from Fuji. Fuji has been really proactive about the updates, especially up to January this year, which is 2015, where they've bring updates after updates, which were excellent. I really kind of took the feedbacks from consumer and help to make a better experience for the camera, which is improving the focus a little bit, improving the easy to use, increasing the shutter speed. So there have been a lot of good things, and Fuji has been really proactive on that level. Now, since January, there's not been any update, and what I think is that they've been working on a new model and they don't really want to put any more into it. I think this is pretty much it. If you buy a Fuji X-T1, I don't expect to get any more updates. I think the new updates will be the hardware, which will be the new X Pro 2, which is meant to come in January if rumors are right, and the X-T2, which is, they're talking about January or June. So rumors, as you know, don't believe everything you hear or you see. So I'll wait to hear from Fuji and see what's happening. So that is pretty much from the update. Quality of the image, well, that is a big thing which I love. I absolutely love the quality of the image you get from a Fuji X-T1 added with a Fuji X lens. I think it's incredible. Working with natural light, I feel like I was getting better result with natural light than with my Nikon. Now, again, it's personal views, but I just love the colors that you get from the Fuji. It's got a very nice tone. It is able to get a beautiful tone on the face. It's a great kit for portrait. I've got to say, I have hardly any bad things to say about it. The quality of the image is incredible as long as you use, low ISO, good lighting, all the good elements. If you have all the good elements to get a nice picture, there's no chance you'll be able to distinguish if this has been taken with a DSLR or with a mirrorless camera. I think it's really on par with DSLR models. One of the things which I think is a bit low is the color dip. I think that when you shoot with Nikon, you have more dip into the image, especially in the shadows and highlights. You kind of get more dimension. I think with Fuji, we still get a bit of the image is a bit more flat. Okay, I will be able to recognize the difference between a Fuji and a Nikon, for example. And that is where, in my opinion, this is the low point from Fuji, is where it's not as deep as DSLR. Is this due to having a smaller sensor? Is this due to the quality of the sensor? I don't know, but this is the thing I realized. And I know some people who have actually, it's been such a problem for them that they've actually gone back to DSLR. So that is something to bear in mind. Now, yeah, quality. The limits of the camera, I think they are good. I think the 1/180th of a second for sync speed is not too bad. As much as I was complaining at the beginning, I just got used to it. I work with ND filters now if I need to, but yeah, it's not too bad. For the shutter speed, now they've been able to increase the shutter speed from 4000, which was at the beginning, and now you can go up to 132 thousandths of a second. Now, anything between 1/4 thousandths of a second and 132 thousandths of a second will be electronic shutter, which means that you've got to be careful because you might have some issues with distortion. So, for example, if you're shooting sport, you can, I'd highly recommend that you don't go over 4000 and you keep your manual shutter. If you go over, you can have some really distorted line. I don't exactly know how was the technology behind it, but what I know is that it's affecting your image, you know, especially if there is movement, it will affect your image. So it's really good if there is a lot of sun and you're shooting someone and you need to go up. In that situation, it's great because you're gonna have a model which is not moving, and that is working fantastically. But in some situations when I shoot kids, for example, and the kids move around, well, it end up having a face which is like that, which is a bit weird. So it's good in some situations, but you have to know when to use it and when not to use it. Now, let's speak about the focus. Let's speak about the focus quickly. Okay, I've used this camera mainly in single focus mode, okay? There is continuous and there is manual. The manual is really good. Like any camera, well, it's all up to you to get the right focus. The single is really good and very fast. Now there are certain lenses which are better than others. For example, this is the 90mm f2. I've also got the 56mm, and the focus will depend on the lens a lot, okay? So for example, the 90mm is excellent. It's so quick compared to the 56, which is rubbish at focusing. Very slow, it takes lots of time, and lots of time you have some go and back, which happens. That's the price to pay for 1.2 lens. That's f2, and you do get a much faster focus. Continuous focus, despite the updates from Fuji, it's just not working. It just isn't. I mean, when I had the 50 to 140, I did get some good result, but I wouldn't risk it. I think using single mode and burst will have better result. So because it's so fast on single mode that you can shoot some kids running towards you and just by a little burst. So you refocus and little burst. And I find this working far better, because if you miss, if for example the kid's starting to run and your focus is starting to go all over the place, it will never get back onto that person and you'll just miss all the pictures. So that is my opinion. This is not a sport camera. It wasn't meant to be, and that is, you know, a bad point for Fuji, unfortunately. Now let's speak about the big no-no into the Fuji X-T1 system, and that it's the ISO. Okay, ISO as a portrait photographer, ISO is not so much of a problem, because portrait photographer normally have time to, and you pretty much in control of the situation most of the time. As wedding photographer, ISO is an extremely important point now. Now this camera says that you can go up to 6400 native, which means that the sensor is up to 6400. If you want to go over, well, if you're shooting RAW, this will switch to JPEG, and it's some kind of electronic ISO lowering system, which is completely rubbish. It doesn't work. You just cannot give this image to your client. It's just not good quality. It's just not good. I personally think that 6400 is far too high. The quality is not up to, for professional work. I think 3200 is really the limit. And even then, you know, the light quality needs to be okay, you know. And the problem is, for example, in France, when I shoot in church, in registry office or in mairie, the lighting quality is terrible. It's really poor. You have hardly any light coming, natural light coming into the church or the registry office, and you've got this horrible bulb which can even be different. So when it comes to white balance, it's a nightmare. But the ISO is the biggest problem I have with this camera, and let me explain why. So for example, when I was working with Nikon, and I was shooting wedding in certain church, and at ISO 3200 I had a nice and bright image, and I was shooting and it was fine. Now with the Fuji, I have a little problem, is that at ISO 3200 I'm getting a much darker image. What that means is that, well, in my opinion, ISO is not set by a brand, okay? ISO is set by by a technical term. So for example, if you take two pictures taken by Nikon and a Canon at ISO 400, well, in question of brightness, it should be the same. Now, if you put a picture taken with a Nikon, and I'm going to show you some example. So this is a picture of a Fuji taken at ISO, I will write it down because I can't remember which ISO I use. And this is a picture of a Nikon D3200, which is the smallest Nikon you can get. Okay, I got this for my son, for him to start photography a year back. And this is at the exact same ISO. And look at the difference. Okay, so what that means is that, in my opinion, ISO, when after I did some testing at different ISO, for example, ISO 1600 on a Fuji is equal to ISO 800 on Nikon. What that means is that you're losing a lot of light. So in my opinion, those ISO ratings are false. They're not real. It's completely fake, and that is a big problem. So that is really something you need to think about if you're looking to buy into the system, because that is something that's been annoying me so much this year with weddings when I was coming to dark place and I'm shooting at ISO 3200, which is, in my opinion, as I say, the best quality, the best of the worst quality you will get. And I think I've got a dark picture, and so I need to go higher. And even in post-process, I need to bring it up by even a stop, if no more, to actually get a brighter image. So ISO on the Fuji X-T1 is terrible, and in my opinion, is no close to any to a DSLR. And I think that, in my opinion, there is, you know, I don't know how they made this, but, you know, being so behind when you compare it to even the smallest Nikon when it comes to ISO, it's just not normal. So what happened when they've done this? Have they designed the wheel wrong? Are they trying to say they can go up there and as they can't? But in my opinion, because for me 3200 is the best you can get, is about equal to 1600 on DSLR, and up to there you will get good quality. So if you have a DSLR, go up to 1600 and you will see about what you will get. Go up to 3200, and with that system you may have problems, or you may have a really bad quality. Go over that, and then you just cannot use the camera. And that has been probably the biggest problem for me, is the ISO. I think that camera manufacturers have been focusing on the ISO a lot in DSLR. So now you can see Nikon D3S for the 5, which can come out. On the Canon side, they're going to 400,000. I mean, something crazy. And when you think about it, and this is such a big help, you know, the focus, I can live without having continuous focus. That's not a problem. But ISO performance for an event photographer is a big thing, because sometimes you need to up your speed. You know, I'm in a church, me at 6,400, 1/60th of a second, and I'm having a dark picture. How do you handle this? You know, it's quite difficult. So, you know, looking back now, I think I would have kept a Nikon with me, and just because of this reason, because I get into wedding situation where it's noisy and I try to avoid them. You can't light a church. You will need 5 or 6 light setup. It will disturb the ceremony. You just cannot do this, and the priest probably won't let you do it anyway. So you end up with dark pictures, or you have to bounce onto the black and white and try to fix it, and that is not a good thing. So yeah, in my opinion, if I could go back in the past, I think I would have kept one Nikon, and that would have been the D3S, and have this on the side. So this would have done all my portrait work, but probably also a lot of my wedding work. But when it comes to the dark place, the Nikon would have taken over and finished the job. So that is a big problem for me. Now, talking about the lens choice, I've bounced lenses. I've bought lots of different lenses. And the problem is that you don't have much choice at the moment. You still only can buy a Fuji lens if you don't want to use an adapter, and if you want to keep focusing with the camera. I have the 90, the 56, which are my portrait lens. The 90 I find it very good for full length portrait, 56 for close portrait. I will do a review on those two lenses very soon. I have the 18-55, which is for normally videos like this one outside, or I do for my underwater work because I have an underwater case and only the 18-55 works in it, but I also use it a lot for my personal work. I have the 16-55 and I have the 23mm, which I'm filming on now. In my opinion, this is the perfect set for me. I was never a big fan of the 24-70 when I had Nikon, but I'm a big fan of the 16-55. So go and have a look at my review. I've done it not so long ago, so you can have a look. And yeah, so yes, lens, we are again limited. There is no real macro out. They're planning to come out with one. This is something I really miss, so that will be probably my next purchase. They have an amazing 16mm apparently, which is the equivalent of a 24mm f1.4, I believe. Yeah, f1.4. So you're looking at like 24 f1.8 if you're looking DSLR modes. So the lenses are extremely good quality, all of them. You know, there is no crap. They're all very good. Even the 50-140, which I kind of put my thumb down talking about as a portrait lens, is an amazing lens. You know, it really is. It has a big reach, super sharp, great colors. No amazing background, but you know, it has its purpose. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, general use, which is my last part, which I write down here, is yes, I'm very happy having done this, but there is a lot of things which Fuji can improve on, and I think we'll see a lot on the X Pro 2 and XT2. And will I be jumping onto the next model straight away? There is a lot of chances for, yes, I would. Double SD card slot, it's a big dilemma. You know, I'm really wary going to wedding with SD card. I'm hoping, you know, nothing's gonna happen. That's something I like to get off my conscience. Better ISO, better focuses as well will be better. But this ISO, if this could be solved, this will really be an amazing camera. Maybe increasing the quality of the sensor to have more depth in the color. That will then make a killer camera. So that is pretty much it. I know it's a long video. I hope I didn't bore you too much. In my opinion, the quality of my work hasn't decreased. It has increased. I think my best work has been done in the past 12 months. And not because I'm using the Fuji system, it's just because I've personally improved and I've tried to be creative and I tried to do new things, but that has nothing to do with the camera or the lenses I use. They do help me to do my job, but bottom line is I would have been able to do the exact same, and I would have taken the exact same image with a Nikon or Canon or Sony. The portability of the system is a big plus. It's, I think, the biggest advantage. But I'm just so happy to be able to do all my job with only this, another camera and a lens, and be able to do everything I used to be able to do with a Nikon, which had much more weight, much more size, and much more lens I needed. So yeah, if you have any questions, please post them down below. Contact me through Facebook. I'll put all the link down below. And thanks for watching. Cheers. See ya. Little plus which I wanted to mention. I know some people have been asking if I work for Fuji or if I have a relation, and no, I do not work for Fuji. I don't work with them, for them. I don't actually know anyone in Fuji. I know a few ex-photographers, but that is pretty much it. So my opinion is, this is purely my opinion, personal opinion. Yes, and I think Fuji professional system is pretty poor compared to Nikon or Canon. I think that they have lots of work to do on that side, because obviously with the big hardware improvements they've done in the last few years, lots of professionals have jumped into, but are not getting the service they should be to get. Like if you have NPS in Nikon, which is incredible, you can call them and speak to them, and you speak to real professionals who know exactly what they're talking about. at the moment with Fuji, you just cannot do that. There is no one to talk to. I've tried before and I found it extremely frustrating. But you know, it's a company which needs to get onto that level as well, and I'm sure we'll see that in future. But for the time being, we just have to wait. Okay, but thanks for watching again, and catch you later. Cheers. See ya.